Welcome to the final video in my Gears 5 solo tutorial for Insane Mode. You're going to want to backtrack here and get the components. I believe it's only one component. I don't know if there's any other components in this entire act. I don't remember getting any other components, but there may have been a few. For the most part, though, it's going to be all combat and some fake combat where it makes it look like you're supposed to fight, but you really don't have to participate. So I did edit out the parts where you're in the back of the pickup truck. There's two parts like that. And you don't have to fight at all. All you do is stay in cover. So I edited those out. Since this video is meant really just to get straight to the point and eliminate any of the bullshit, get straight to the combat, and break down what I did. And it wouldn't really be too entertaining to have a lot of filler in this video. But yeah, this is another part where you really don't have to participate. These enemies just get wiped out. And there's quite a few parts like that in this chapter. But there are a few challenging battles. The final boss is very easy though. But I will explain a few tips. There are a few nuisances on that stage. I try to keep both sniper rifles, the M-Bar and the regular sniper rifle, for as long as I can, but there were times when I had to switch to a GL Lancer by taking it off one of my teammates, because I ran out of ammo. And there's also some bad glitches in this game where one that happens a lot is when you exchange weapons from the ground, sometimes your sniper rifle, after it goes on the ground, it just disappears. It can happen with any weapon you're carrying, it seems. Make sure you get this upgrade, this Deadly Overload upgrade. It's right in this area where I show here. Make sure you pick that up. But yeah, sometimes your weapons will disappear. When you trade them with weapons on the ground, your other weapon will just disappear. So, somehow my sniper rifle fucking disappeared, so I didn't have that for the rest of the act. Since I don't think you really get them in this act. There might be a few areas where the sniper rifle appears, but I think it's pretty rare. I also had my relic weapons disappear from Act 2. So for this part, use your stealth and, stealth kill this guy, because usually he'll take a lot of hits, and he's very dangerous up close since he's a shotgun enemy with heavy armor. And you want to get up in this position here. I found this useful. If you're fast enough, you should be able to stealth kill that guy as well. But I didn't know that he was going to be there, so I retreated here. But you shouldn't have too much trouble defending this position. These enemies are pretty easy to deal with. They're usually focused on your team, so you can just pick them off. Yeah, but in Act 2, I lost my relic weapons. I had a nice relic sniper rifle and another weapon, but they just tend to disappear when you go into the next act. I read on some forums that it is possible to keep them, but I don't know for how long, and I wasn't able to do it. So there's a lot of glitchy shit in this game. Overall, it's pretty damn tight, but it's definitely the glitchiest of the Gears games. I've had the game lock up where I couldn't proceed anymore because the skiff got stuck in the side of a mountain, and I had to restart several checkpoints back. I lost quite a bit of progress. So there are some irritations. This warden, we're going to deal with him as usual. Just don't get close to him unless you're, cloaked. I like to use the cloak and grenade tag him as I do here. I find that to be a good way to do a lot of damage to them. But the cloak only lasts so long, so, you can't keep doing it until your cloak recharges. If you try to grenade tag him without the cloak, you'll usually get annihilated. I don't know if it's even possible. So don't do that. You can also possess him, which is useful because he'll take out these enemies. And then you can just deal with him again after it wears off. There's going to be some large encounters that can be difficult, but I have some good strategies that I found. I didn't really watch any tutorial videos from anyone else before I played these sections, so I came up with some of my own techniques. Sometimes I will watch videos before I play a section. while I'm eating or something like that, and I'll just kind of just watch it for entertainment, and see what strategies were used. But for this act, I'm most of this stuff I figured out on my own. Aside from the final boss strategy, I actually used Separim strategy for that. But yeah, once you take out this warden, you're going to pick up the Hammer of Dawn, and you can eliminate this Swarmak very easily. All you do here is just sit back and just burn him. His attacks rarely seem to get through that gap, but you can use Stim if you like to give yourself some extra insurance, or the shield. I guess those attacks do get through, but I never got killed by any of this. You may be able to use the Hammer of Dawn on the enemies after this Swarmak fight that are down below. I forget if the Hammer of Dawn was still online at that point. It's possible that I just overlooked it because I used regular weapons on them for some reason. So I may have overlooked it. Probably because I was switching up my weapons for the coming up encounters. Because I didn't want to be carrying around a Hammer of Dawn that I couldn't use. So I probably grabbed one of my main weapons again and forgot about it. So you may want to try using the Hammer of Dawn to take out the enemies below, instead of using up your regular ammo like I did here. Yeah, see, I picked up my sniper rifle again because I didn't want to abandon it for the next area, but then I realized that there was enemies below that I had to take care of, so I think I forgot about the Hammer of Dawn. Probably could have used it here. But yeah, either way, easy enough to clean up these guys. They don't pose much of a threat at all, so you should have no problem. It's always useful to possess the harder ones, but like I said, you probably could have just used the Hammer of Dawn and cleared out this whole area in a few seconds instead of doing this shit. So yeah, for this next area, you're going to skip pretty much all the enemies. You can stealth kill this first one. But aside from that, just run through here and collect some ammo for your weapons. There's an ammo box at the end. But you can skip all these enemies. So for this part, we have one of these heavily armored enemies that takes a shitload of hits to defeat. So we're going to ignore that for now. I think I possessed it, which can be helpful because it can shoot at the other enemies and it'll leave you alone in the meantime. But for now see, I got kind of fucked up here. This was a little bit bad because I think this was my first time playing this checkpoint, so I didn't know where the enemies were. But it's easy enough to get through here. You can even use stealth and stealth kill these guys. But eventually I do get through. I was able to stealth kill one of them at least. I guess I got this one too. But once you're up here, you're in a good position. So make sure you clear out some of the easier enemies while you're up here. And then you can focus on the main enemy that takes a shitload of bullets. Just like the carrier, the flock, and this enemy, they're pretty badly designed enemies that just take a lot of shots. Not very interesting to fight, not very difficult. But they do add a little bit of an extra nuisance to the encounter, because since they keep shooting at you, But I did edit out the sequences where you're just sitting in the back of the truck and you don't have to fight the enemies. You can just stay in cover, and it's like a cinematic scene, basically. I cut those out, and I lost footage of... I had to redo the final boss because I lost footage. The Xbox One recording crashed. So I am missing one combat encounter with a flock and a carrier, but I'll explain what I did on that later. It's a simple tactic. Make sure you take out these shield drones. If you shoot the yellow or orange parts, you'll take them out much faster, like I just did there. That way you leave these guys exposed and you can just peck at them until they're dead from a distance. They seem pretty preoccupied with your teammates, so they shouldn't give you too much of trouble. That seems to happen a lot in this game. Gears 4, I remember the enemies being way more focused on you. And the encounters were just much harder in general. You didn't have the abilities either, so that was part of it. But I do really like the abilities, even though the game's not as difficult. It's definitely enjoyable. Yeah, so now, I mean, this is where, it's kind of lame. You're just going to pelt at this guy and waste up your ammo until he dies. There's not really a fast way to kill these guys that I know of, so it just takes long. But yeah, that's the weakest part of the game for me, design-wise, is, these 3 bullet sponge type of enemies. And the glitches are annoying for sure. There are some annoying glitches. So yeah, that ends that encounter. And now you're going to have it's probably the hardest encounters in this act, but it's not at this point. This one is pretty easy. All you do is hang up here and take these guys out. You have your abilities, which I don't have to explain to you how they work. You may want to close as many emergence holes as you can with either grenades or use the GL Lancer's explosives to take out those holes really quickly and easily. Those are some easy methods. But you can just sit up here and use your shield ability and various things to pick at the enemies. Trade weapons with your teammates and waste up their GL Lancer ammo. Or use Jack to grab ammo out in the field, or use your cloak to run out and grab ammo if you need to. But there's a lot of ways you can deal with this. I like to possess the Pouncer because he'll do a lot of damage to the other enemies. And it keeps him off your ass for a little while so you can snipe at the other enemies. Since the Pouncer can take you out in one hit, basically, if all the quills hit you. When using the shield, you have to be careful that the Pouncer doesn't hit you in the legs with his quills, because they'll go right under the shield, since he's down under you like that, so you got to be careful with that. But, very easy. I saw in other videos later, after beating it, that other players were staying in that main courtyard area where the game wants you to fight all the enemies. But I stay up here for the entire area. I found that to be the easiest way to deal with all the waves of enemies. So I'll show that. You can pull a lot of bullshit from up here, and it seems like the enemies rarely ever come up the stairs around here to fuck with you. There is a warden that comes in here eventually, but that's near the end of this whole area. So overall, you have a lot of time to just pick off enemies. And if they do try to come up the stairs, you can just mow them down. You may have the occasional loose enemy will try to come up the stairs and come in this area, but it's pretty safe. It's just a matter of playing it carefully and slowly, and it shouldn't be too difficult for anyone. Yeah, the ability to trade weapons with your teammates helps a lot if you run out of ammo. And of course using Jack to grab ammo on the field. You can also just wait for your possession to recharge and just keep possessing the stronger enemies. Mainly the Pouncer, and he'll do some cleanup for you. See, the Pouncer is still alive. So you can just possess him again. He does a lot of damage. He's pretty much wasting all those enemies down there. And then I'll end up dealing with the Pouncer last after all these easier enemies are dealt with. And then I'm going to go down to that main courtyard area to grab some shit. But then I'm going to come right back up to this area again. And that's where I'll finish off all the rest of the encounters. It makes it much, much easier than trying to fight all the enemies in that middle area. It's much, much harder. I died a lot on this part because I was trying to fight them all in that bottom area. And it doesn't take long before you start running out of ammo and you get, overwhelmed by all the harder enemies that surround you. But yeah, it's definitely not a quick way to beat this area, but I think it's easy. Just don't get greedy with these Pouncers, obviously, because they kill you really fast if you peek out at the wrong moment. He can still get you through these little gaps, even though he's down, low. But eventually I'll go down there and finish him off when he's about dead, just to be safe. Sometimes I do take the tactical slow approach, even though my playstyle is usually fast and aggressive. But I found the slower approach to work much better for this whole area. Whenever you blow up these emergence holes, there's usually some explosive weapons or power weapons inside the crater, so you may want to look in there. See if there's anything you like. Machine guns tend to have, more ammo for them. And if you have good ammo for the sniper weapons, those are good to have. But yeah, get this tri-shot down here. There's a tri-shot down here. And grab some ammo boxes. And then I recommend using the either stim or cloak to run up these stairs. You don't have to use either stim or cloak, but once you start taking some damage, it is safer to use one of the abilities to run through. And you just want to get back to this area where we started at, pulling bullshit. You can continue to pull bullshit up here, especially if you have the tri-shot. But I'm going to disregard the tri-shot for now. I'm going to save it for the harder enemies later. And since I grabbed some ammo, I'm going to start sniping at the enemies again. And of course, take out the emergence holes when you can with explosives. Either the geo launcher grenades or the regular grenades, whichever you have. You want to take them out if you can because it'll speed up the encounter, but you don't have to do it. Eventually the enemies will run out either way. The smoke can make it hard to see anything when they throw up smoke, so you may want to back up. But you got shields, you got all kinds of abilities to make this shit easy. It's very rare that the enemies even come up these stairs and make it up to where you're at. As I said, so, you can just take your time. So we got one guy who's potentially going to come up here, but he doesn't even make it up the stairs as of yet. Luckily, your teammates don't seem to die really in this area, so you don't have to worry too much about them. Watch out for grenades that occasionally get through, like those. Those will obviously kill you fast. It's useful to possess the shotgun or the torque bow guys with the I forgot what it's called, but I think overkill shotgun or the torque bow enemies. If you possess them, they will do pretty good damage on the other enemies. Mainly the torque bow guys. I think the torque bow guys might be the best ones to possess. I think they take out enemies pretty well. But either way, it's just a matter of time before you wipe out all the enemies. It is very easy to run out of ammo on this part, though, so you may want to use Jack to retrieve some of the ammo and, like I said, swap weapons with your teammates. That's probably going to be the main thing, is possibly running out of ammo and not having a lot to work with. So you want to make your shots, fairly accurate. Here I use my explosives from the GL Lancer to close up the emergence hole. I also used it on one of the shield drones, which did a lot of damage to it. But yeah, you want to take out the shield drones as well once the harder enemies start appearing. You really don't want a shielded, warden coming into this area. So it's better to get the shield off. I think this guy's just a drop shot enemy, but he's still a pain in the ass if, you don't get the shields off. But he doesn't really come up in this area, it doesn't seem, so you can still pick off at him until he's dead. You can also possess him and he'll wipe out some of the other easier enemies. But yeah, I often found it was good to possess the torque bow guys, like I said, so I did that a lot. So now we got another wave of enemies coming out, it looks like. Eventually the warden does come out, and he can be a pain in the ass, but we're going to use the same distance techniques of, when he gets close, just run in the opposite direction and make distance again, and that's about it. They're usually pretty simple to deal with, but they can be dangerous, obviously, if they hit you. So now I start taking out the tri-shot, doing a little cleanup. It's probably better to save for the warden if you're patient enough. But I felt like doing a little cleanup on some of the easier enemies. The shield may block the drop shots, but I wasn't completely sure, so I think it does, but, I didn't really trust it because enemies, I think, can walk through it sometimes, like the juvies, so I'm not sure always what the shield blocks. So yeah, clean up these guys. If you play it like this, it can be a very long encounter, but very easy. But it is possible to mess up. I did fuck up sometimes. I had to redo it even when I did this, but this made it much, much easier. Because as you can see, there's a lot of enemies and a lot of hard ones do come out. It's one of the harder encounters in the game, probably, if you don't have a good strategy. So now here comes the warden, so make sure to take out his shield drone first, then you can start dealing with him. Then you want to take off his helmet as usual, and then you can start shooting him in the head for good damage. I mean, these enemies are bullet sponge enemies too, like the other 3 enemies I mentioned, the flock, and the carrier, and that other guy that with the turrets. But at least this guy does something, you know. At least he's like extremely lethal up close, so there's a gameplay mechanic to it that's good. So I like this enemy. I think it's a good enemy. So yeah, I like using stealth and grenade tagging these guys, as you see me do a lot. It gives you a nice little chunk of damage, you know. I think this guy got stuck on that crater for a while, so it made it even easier than usual. The AI seems to struggle a lot in this game at times. It's a lot easier to exploit than other Gears games, I find. I mean, you can see even some of these textures didn't load in. It seems like the game, you know, is a lot less polished overall. But yeah, still, you know, an awesome single player campaign nonetheless. Unlike Halo 5, which I thought was shitty. But definitely the least polished of the Gears games. But it has some of the best features as well, as far as the abilities and some things like that with Jack. There's definitely, I believe there's more enemy types in this one than some of the other ones. So there's a lot of variety. So yeah, after you kill that warden, that ends that whole scene. So now this scene is a pain in the ass because sometimes your Hammer of Dawn will detonate on cover that's way too fucking close to you and it'll kill you. You got to be very careful with it not to detonate yourself. But I like taking cover on this pillar here instead of the ones that are closer to the enemies. You know, the more square-shaped rectangular covers, I don't use those. I use this pillar back here. I found that to be the easiest way. If you're fast enough with this, which I didn't do it great, but if you know where the spawns are, you can eliminate them very quick. Unfortunately, your teammates get in the way of your hammer often and can also get you killed. Because if you concentrate the hammer on your teammates, it'll explode and kill you as well. So it is kind of a shitty part in that sense. It was kind of sloppy to me. It was irritating. I definitely died a few times because I blew myself up. Because it would detonate on the rectangular cover, or it would detonate on my teammate who was standing in front of my beam. So, you got to watch out for that. Possessing the pouncers is useful to get them off your ass if you need to. You can also, use your shield to give you a little protection. The main thing is, knowing where the spawns are is going to speed it up because you can wipe the spawns out before they have a chance to really do anything. So spawn memorization is actually really helpful for this segment. I had a general idea. I didn't really have a lot of them memorized, but I knew where a lot of the big enemies were coming out. And if you get them in groups, you can take them out fast. And you can get the pouncers to spawn really quickly by taking out all the larger enemies first. If you take them out fast enough, you can get to that pouncer phase pretty quick. So yeah, now you got the snatchers. They're not going to do too much, but you want to take them out fast because they can spit out those quills and kill you. But this is the final phase of this little sequence. It's the easiest part, but I've died on it before because of that stupid fucking, waist-high cover that I blew myself up on. The hammer will detonate off of that, as I said. So yeah, now you have another combat sequence with a bunch of enemies, which can be tricky. But I like to get up here and pull bullshit. You still have to react quickly when enemies try to surround you, but you can pull a lot of bullshit from up here. Take the drop shot here and get some, some shots off with that and do some damage. You got some explosive canisters down there as well you can detonate. might as well waste up the ammo and then grab whatever your primary weapon was before that. Just, get your old weapon back, but just waste it up. Get some damage in. You can be fairly safe up here as long as you're, aggressively taking shots at the enemies. And using your shield. Your shield really lets you play really offensively. It makes sense that they give you the shield late in the game, because if you had this earlier, you could really abuse it. You can also retrieve some of those Lancers if you need them for some extra ammo. I believe I lost my sniper rifle by this point because I had it glitch out on the floor when I was swapping out a weapon, because the weapons disappear in this game. So, it's a shitty glitch, but it's happened to me quite a few times in this game. Pretty common. Be careful about these guys that will sometimes get up here. Those guys will instantly kill you, obviously. But by this point, you've dealt with plenty of them. Just be careful that, just be aware that they can get up there. But there's not really that many enemies that seem to break free of the bullshit down there and come up here. So you got plenty of time to deal with everybody and all your abilities and shit. It's really not that bad. Possessing the pouncers are probably the best enemies to possess in this area, because they really fuck up the regular enemies. So you may want to kill the pouncer last. Yeah, I never pick up shotguns or overkill weapons pretty much on insane, because I find them useless. Anything close range, you die so fast. Although they might be decent with the shield up. But you have so many ways to kill enemies up close with the abilities. The reason I have a shotgun, I think, is because I didn't have any other weapons available, so I think I just grabbed it. But for the most part, I never grab shotguns on insane. Pretty much always have two sniper weapons, like an M-bar and a sniper rifle is my usual loadout. And of course the bolt-act. But you lose the bolt-act when you start up this final act. I don't know if you can even get a bolt-act on this entire act. I don't remember if you get one. But I know you don't have one for quite a while on the final act. So yeah, this is very basic now at this point. You're just going to finish off the pouncer and, take out that shield drone. Then you're going to fight this bullet sponge enemy, which just takes really long to kill. It's a super easy enemy, but for some reason they like to use them a lot. It really doesn't make it challenging. It's just, it's just a waste of time. So yeah, now that the pouncer is done, I can start focusing on this, this bullet sponge enemy. You can see how these things take overly long to kill, and they're really not too interesting to fight. I was trying to get Jack to grab that ammo, but he didn't want to cooperate for whatever reason. I guess because maybe when he has that shield deployed, maybe he can't grab shit. I never thought about that when I was playing. Now that I see the video, I guess it makes sense that he can't grab ammo when he's shielding you. Never even thought about it. I was wondering why Jack wasn't grabbing ammo for me, but I guess that makes sense now. Trading weapons is also very finicky. Trying to get your team members to face you and trade weapons with you. It's hard to get that prompt to even show up a lot of times. The game it feels like the game could be a lot more, smoother, polished. I also had a lot of frame rate issues on this final stage where it was real choppy in some parts. It's just not the kind of shit you usually see in Gears games. They're usually real polished. But I still thought this was one of the best Gears campaigns by far. If I had to pick, maybe Judgment, the third one, the fourth, and the fifth would be my favorite. I guess that's most of them. I didn't really like the campaign in part one. I thought it was all right, but I didn't think it was anything, anything special. I didn't think it stood out as a single-player game. I loved the multiplayer. Probably spent hundreds of hours. I had over 14,000 kills on the multiplayer of Gears 1, but the campaign, I did go through insane, but I wasn't really into it. It was more fun co-op than it was on single-player, but, a lot of games are. Part 2 had a pretty good campaign, but I wasn't feeling Part 2 overall. I felt like they really fucked it up when they nerfed the shotgun. They made the shotgun super delayed. That ruined the multiplayer for me pretty much. The single player was decent though. It was quite good, I guess. Quite a good campaign, but I don't know. I didn't really get into it. Really enjoyed the third campaign, fourth and fifth, and Judgment I thought was very underrated. It had an action-packed, campaign, and the multiplayer was awesome. It had an amazing free-for-all mode, which I thought was one of the best modes in the series. The maps were great, but I know free-for-all is not popular. I'm more of a solo player, so I always wanted Gears to have more free-for-all. I think this one now does have free-for-all, but it's kind of gimped. They put you in these tiny arenas. So anyway, for this is a pretty hard encounter, but for this, just stay in this right corner I'm at down here. That's all you got to do. And just defend this right corner. Once I did this, I beat it on my first try, I believe. I think I died a few times until I ran to this. Maybe once or twice, I'm not sure. But when I ran to this corner and crouched here, I was able to take everyone out using my shield and with Jack and all that shit. Just defend the area, this little corner. Just stay in this one area. It's worth explaining that because if you watch the video, you may not notice that I literally just stayed planted in this one fucking area. I found that pretty much exploited this area. I'm usually pretty quick at finding ways to exploit AIs. This was something that came to me pretty quick. I saw this was pretty safe. Now after this encounter is done, see that train up there, that abandoned train that's all beat up? It's like a train carriage. It's up on the top floor where the train tracks are. For the carrier and flock fight, what I advise you to do is to go straight up to that second floor where the train is. Go up there and deal with the flock while you're up by the train. And flock is just a bullet sponge. You know how to deal with that by now. So kill that. And then after you're done killing that, the carrier cannot go up the stairs. Or the slope or whatever it is. So the carrier is going to stay on the bottom floor. So all you got to do is take cover inside the train and just take shots at the carrier until it's dead. And, dodge the occasional projectiles that it shoots out. But that's all you have to do. And you can get Jack to get you weapons and do all that shit. So it's very, very fucking easy. Now, it'd be kind of hard if you try to fight the carrier and the flock while you're down here like they want you to do. But if you go up by that train immediately when the two bosses appear, you'll have an easy time with it. But I can't show that because I lost the footage, but you get the idea. It's better it's not in the video anyway. It would just drag out the video for a very slow and easy encounter. I also edited out those truck scenes because there's no action. So now if you can, grab 2 machine guns if you can for the final boss. You don't need to, but at least have the Lancer GL on you. That's all you really need. At least have the Lancer GL. And for your secondary weapon, grab another Lancer, a regular Lancer, or the claw weapon is actually great for the final boss. I don't like the claw weapon at all, but it's great for the final boss. So if you can get a claw and a Lancer GL, I think that's the ultimate loadout for the final boss. But this is another scene where you do not have to participate. You could just sit in a corner if you want the whole time, and then these guys will show up and wipe everyone out. Just like the scene in the back of the pickup truck that I edited out. You don't have to participate in that either. You just take cover and it ends. So the only purpose of this area is to grab your Lancer. Make sure you have the Lancer GL for the final. You're going to use that on the final boss, which is coming up next. If you have a second Lancer, that's good too, but you really only need the Lancer GL. You can grab ammo for it on the actual final boss, so you can just keep using that one weapon. Now, I got this strategy off of Separim's video for the boss, so that was this one was not my own. But this next part is very easy. It's just a waste of time. I don't even think the flock will attack you in this scene. All you do is get on the turrets and shoot down the flocks. I think you kill like 5 or 6 of them. So you get more Lancer GL and Lancer GL ammo here anyway, so you don't really need to grab it in that previous area. But if you have 2 different Lancers, it can be useful if you run out of ammo. You know, because sometimes on the spot you don't have time to grab an ammo box, so having an extra backup Lancer may not hurt. There is at least one checkpoint during the final boss battle, so it makes it even easier. And I'll show where that is. But yeah, just take out these flocks with the turret. Extremely easy. I don't even think they can damage you. I don't think I've ever been hit by any of them. So yeah, all you have to do is just shoot into them, and they'll eventually all die. It's kind of just a bullshit sequence. And the final boss is very easy, but there are, sometimes you die to stupid bullshit. Your teammates can get eaten or sucked in at certain points and instantly kill, and then you have to start the whole boss battle over. It's irritating. But aside from that, it is very, very easy. It didn't take me too many tries. And I'll explain the very simple tactic for that. But yeah, this goes on for a little while. It really shouldn't have gone on this long for such a simple fight. The final boss also is pretty recycled, since it's pretty much the same thing you fought earlier. I mean, it's a little different, but pretty similar. But it's a cool looking boss. I mean, it looks pretty cool, but yeah, it's going to be real simple. All you're going to do is stand to the side of it. And it can't grab you with the tongues if you're far on its side. If you get too close to the side, you will occasionally get grabbed, and you can mash B to get out of it. It's not a big deal. For the most part, you want to stay on the side of it like this and just shoot at the tongues. You're not going to be able to save the first few teammates that he grabs. He grabs those disposable Carmine guys with the helmet that die in every Gears of War game. So those guys are going to get grabbed and killed. It's pretty much part of the little cinematic. It's almost like a little cinematic scene. I don't think there's anything you can do about it. So don't worry about that. You're not penalized for that. But if any of your main teammates get grabbed and killed, then you lose. So you got to make sure you shoot them down. So don't mess up your active reloads, or don't mess up your regular reloads at least. You don't want to jam up the gun. I mean, you can still survive, but you want to try to take these things out fast. Use the Lancer GL, as it's a lot better than the regular Lancer for taking these things out. And just shoot at it. Try to shoot at the ones that are about to lunge and grab your teammates, so you weaken them, and then you don't have to put as many bullets into them to release your teammate, because they'll explode sooner. So you can try to preemptively do that, but you really don't have to. Just be aware of who's being grabbed and concentrate fire on that immediately. I don't remember ever having my teammates getting swallowed up this way, but they did when he does the suction move. So that's the hardest part, but it's really not hard, but you have to do it a certain way. So yeah, when you go up here, wait for the flock to appear, and grab the ammo box, obviously, and then use your stim when the flock gets close to you. Now just dance around here until the X prompt appears on the console, and then just use it immediately, aim it at the boss, and hit the right trigger when the reticle goes red. And that's the first phase. And you're just going to do this shit again, but make sure you do grab the ammo out of the ammo box, like I said, before you go up there, because you want to keep your Lancer ammo full, and that's the time to grab it. But yeah, you only want to shoot at these tonsils when you're sucked in and you're like really close to his mouth. If you don't do it at the right distance, you will exhaust your clip, and while you're reloading, you'll get sucked in and killed, or your teammates will get sucked in and killed. and you'll have to redo all that shit again. So you have to get the distance right on that. You want your reticle really focused on that when you're up close. After you die a few times from it, you'll see the way you have to do it, but you got to do it when you're up close. You also can't do it when you're too up close, because then you'll get sucked in, or your teammate will get sucked in. So you have to do it at just the right time. It seems insane. It is kind of irritating, but it's really not hard. It's just you just have to know when to shoot. So I believe you get a checkpoint after you shoot the tonsils out the first time when he's trying to suck you in. I believe that's the checkpoint after that. So if you do fuck it up, you may get a checkpoint. If not, you get the checkpoint after this second wave of tongues that you shoot down. I'll have to see if I can see where the checkpoint edit is, because I did die. So yeah, just continue shooting these guys out. The reason I got in this bad position is I thought that I had already shot them all out. And it turns out that I had more to shoot out, so I put myself in a bad position. Yeah, no, this is the checkpoint. So it's after you defeat the second wave of tongues, then you get your checkpoint. So now you're going to get sucked in again. It's going to be the same shit. Luckily, you got a checkpoint, so if you fuck this part up, you can keep doing it again until you shoot the tonsils properly. So it's good they give you a checkpoint on the second little suction scene. And as usual, make sure you grab the ammo from the ammo boxes right after you destroy all the tongues as you're running up to the railgun. That's the perfect time to refill your ammo on the GL Lancer. So shoot it again for the second time. And now you pretty much beat the game. But he's gonna lunge at you and he can kill you. So stay away from the center of the screen. Because I actually got killed by being in the center of the screen. So I would say just get all the way to the right or the left. But just stay out of the center of the screen. You should be alright. You don't even need to shoot at this guy as far as I can tell. All you got to do is wait around. Eventually they will summon the Hammer of Dawn and kill him. So yeah, that's pretty much it. You don't even have to shoot the tonsils, but you can if you want. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions. And thanks for watching.